everybody, and welcome into episode 67 of the Dorton and Doetkott Debate podcast. Yes, it has been a long time. Seems like
Been a
that's kind
while.
of been a common theme with our podcasts lately. We haven't been too consistent with it, but um, we're back. We're back, and that's all that matters. Nick's rocking the new hair. Allen Iverson, the wide AI, if you want to call it. But it looks good, though. I'm a fan.
Thank you.
But, anyways, like I said, we've missed a ton of time. We're going to dive back into it here. As always, the NFL season is right around the corner.
Can't wait.
This is probably one of my favorite times of the year. I know you and I are both big baseball guys, but I think when you're a fan of a team like the Rockies, who are in contention before the first pitch of the regular season starts, you definitely look forward to when football season starts. And I'm ready for football to start. It's always a great time of the year, so I'm looking forward to it. I don't know about you.
Oh, I'm ready, man. September, October, probably the best time of the year. You got so many sports going at once, and NFL's just so awesome. Got college football starting up soon too. I'm ready.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so we're just gonna dive right into it here. Um, Starting off as we always do, we do some record predictions. This is our NFL preview prediction episode. So we're gonna go team by team, division by division, give you our predictions for how we think they're gonna do, maybe a little bit of analysis here and there, and then also giving you um, our playoff standings where teams are, and then some award winners too. So it's a jam-packed episode, a lot of stuff, but these podcasts typically are a little bit longer, but they're always one of my favorite ones because, who doesn't like a good prediction? They can look back at the end of the year and see where you were wrong, where you were right. But anyways, so we're going to dive right into it here. We're going to start just because I'll be honest, I really don't want to wait for it. I think the most anticipated division in football this year, the AFC West, four absolutely potential playoff teams could come out of this division.
Yeah.
And where they finish 1 to 4 also could I could see any of them probably finishing in any position.
Yeah.
But I will have you start. So give me your 1 to 4 who you have in the AFC West and what record you gave them.
All right. Well, until they prove to me that they're not the best team in the division, I'm going to go with Kansas City. They've won it the last couple of years. They did lose Tyreek Hill to your Dolphins, but they still got Kelsey. They added Valdez-Scantling. They added Juju. You still got Edwards-Helaire there, and you still got what really matters. You got Mahomes, and you got the good coach in Andy Reid. And I just until they fall off, actually, I'm not going to predict them to. So I got the Chiefs at 12-5 in first, and then 2 through 4 is hard. I think the
Yeah.
Chargers are the consensus second best team, if not best team in this division. But I don't know. I have a feeling about Vegas. I think they might
Hmm.
be better, but I actually have both of them at 10-7. But I'll have Vegas winning the tiebreaker, so I'll have them at 2 at 10-7, the Chargers at 3 at 10-7, and it's hard for me to put a Russell Wilson team in last. I mean, I know it happened last year, but he was injured most of the year. But I just don't think Denver's got enough compared to these other three teams. But I still have them at 9-8 in fourth place.
I agree with you. I also have the Chiefs first at 12-5. Obviously losing Tyreek Hill. I mean that is a big loss. I mean you don't just hope you find a guy like that and he's going to put out the same kind of performance because he might not. But you're right. They brought in Valdez-Scantling, Smith-Schuster. That Sky Moore I know has been playing really really well at Chiefs camp from what I've been hearing.
Yep.
I don't think you're going to be able to really replace Tyreek Hill, but I think if those three guys are able to all three together maybe give you combined the production that Tyreek Hill did, I think this is going to be a potential very deep wide receiver class if they all, if they all play well. And you're 100% correct. Patrick Mahomes is still Patrick Mahomes. Andy Reid is still a hell of a coach. Travis Kelce still exists. This is a very good team. And until they say otherwise, I have them at 12-5. I had the Chargers actually finishing second at 11-6. I am very high on the Chargers. I think Justin Herbert is going to take a massive leap this year, which is hard to say with how he's done these first 2 years. Well, how much better can he get?
5,000 yards last year.
Yeah. How much better can he get? It's hard to say. I think he could potentially play himself into MVP conversation this year. The Chargers, bringing in Khalil Mack is big. I think defensively they have a very good squad. Offensively, they have a very good squad. This is a very complete team all the way around. The kicking seems to be a little bit of the Chargers' struggles, but I have them at second at 11-6. And then third and fourth, I had the Raiders and Broncos in that order, both finishing 10-7. So the tiebreaker, I had the Raiders in third. And like you just said, it's Russell Wilson to the Broncos. Oh, how are you going to put them in fourth? That's really hard. But when you have the Raiders, Chargers, and Chiefs all in your division, well, someone has to finish last. I do think the Broncos very well maybe could be 11-6, 12-5, make the playoffs. Obviously, losing Tim Patrick hurts a lot. Cortland Sutton's still a baller. But this defense is a very good young defense, and I think they could cause a lot of havoc this year. But what are the chances you think all four teams make the playoffs? So,
considering they're going to beat up on each other, it's going to be hard. But I mean, both of us have all four teams above 500, so it's definitely possible. Definitely possible. I could see it. I could definitely see it.
So we'll have to see as far as how that plays out for the season. I'm pretty confident with the Chiefs finishing first and making that prediction. I'm not too worried about that one. The other three, second, third, and fourth, I can definitely see any of those teams finishing in second, third, or fourth. So we'll have to see how the ball lands. Misses an upright, maybe a team's in second. Who knows? So now I'd like to go to the AFC East. I will start with this one. I have in first place with an 11-6 record, Buffalo. This is a team that they don't have an easy schedule. I'm pretty confident in saying they're one of the best teams in football, but they do not have an easy schedule. I mean, they start off against the Rams in LA on Thursday Night Football, then Tennessee. They play Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Green Bay. Minnesota's not easy. The Jets, or sorry, not the Jets. New England gave them a run for their money last year. So, I mean, this is a very tough schedule, which is why I have them at 6 losses, but I have them finishing first at 11-6. And then I have my Miami Dolphins also finishing at second with an 11-6 record. So now you might be saying, oh, Lucas, well, are they going to finish 11-6? I think their schedule is a very favorable one. They play, obviously, the Jets twice. I think they play Houston, Chicago, Detroit, Cincinnati. I think they can win. I think they can sweep the Jets. I could see them sweeping New England. I could see them getting swept or splitting with Buffalo. I don't think we'd sweep that. I just don't see how we couldn't get 11 wins. Bringing in Tyreek Hill is massive. That's going to even – I don't know if Jalen Waddle can have much better of a year than he did last year with 100-plus catches and over 1,000 yards. But having Tyreek Hill as your deep threat, Jalen Waddle across the middle, can very well surpass those numbers.
Oh, yeah.
This is a team that is built around Tua, his strengths to win, a very fast team. With Mike McDaniel at the helm, I'm really excited to see how this team does this year. Hopefully I don't get disappointed, and maybe I will. I have been a lot, but hopefully not.
Right?
Yeah. So we'll have to see what happens there. And then in third place, I have the New England Patriots finishing at 8-9. To me, I think they're a very average football team. They didn't do anything in the offseason that made me think, oh yeah, this is a 10+1 football team. I don't think they're necessarily any worse than they were last year, but I think with how hard the AFC is going to be, I don't think they're going to be winning as many games to make the playoffs like they did last year. I have them at 8-9. Mac Jones, I think he's a very average quarterback, and the receiving core that they have is not great. They trade for Devontae Parker.
Who is their number one? Oh, I suppose him, huh?
Probably Devontae Parker, I would think. I mean, maybe like a Jacoby Myers, Nelson Aguilar, but nothing to write home about. So I don't see much from the Patriots this year. I have them finishing at 8-9. And then the New York Jets, I have them finishing 1-16. Now, let me say this. I don't think they are going to be on paper, I don't think they're going to be the worst team in football. I don't. I think Houston and the Giants are a worse team. But looking at their schedule, Nick, Baltimore, tough game. Cleveland, I know Deshaun Watson ain't going to be there. That's a tough game. Cincinnati, tough game. Pittsburgh, Miami, Green Bay, Denver, New England, Buffalo, New England. Chicago, I think they can beat. But they have Minnesota, Buffalo. Detroit's not a toss-up for a win. Jacksonville's not a toss-up for a win. Seattle's not a toss-up for a win. And Miami again. I don't think that on paper they are the worst team in football, but the schedule that they have is absolutely brutal this year. And that's why I only have them winning one game. So I want to hear your AFC East predictions.
Dang. Well, I have. What record did you have for Buffalo?
11-6.
Okay, I have Buffalo first as well, but I actually have them at 13-4.
Okay.
They got a lot of hard games, but I mean, you mentioned it. They got a hard schedule, but I do think they're the best team in the league, either them or the Bucks. So I'm just gonna ride them and say they're gonna go 13-4. I believe in Josh Allen. I believe in the Bills, and I have them at first. I have your Dolphins at 10-7.
Okay.
I liked what they did in the offseason. I mean, how can you not? They added Tyreek Hill. That's huge. What I really like is how I think Jalen Waddle is just going to be a stud this year. He had a boatload of receptions last year, but his yards per catch had to be about the lowest. He kind of didn't go much, but with Tyreek Hill going deep, taking the top off the defense, the middle of the field is just going to be wide open for Waddle. He's going to just exploit that all day, and I'm expecting a big year out of Jalen Waddle. And hopefully Tua can really step up and make his place here in the NFL. I hope. But we'll see. There's question marks around him, but I like the roster they got, and I'll go at 10-7. New England, I know that's Belichick. Mac Jones looks decent. They're probably going to prove me wrong, but I just don't like the roster enough. So I have them at 7-10 in third, and then the Jets I do not have at 1-16. Their schedule is hard. I think, granted, I've given the Jets a little bit too much benefit of the doubt the last couple of years, and they've always proven me wrong. Maybe I'm doing it again. I just think they got they don't have a great roster by any means, but they do got some young guys there. They got some decent skill position players. I'm gonna give them 6 wins and go 6-11. I hope they can get there. We'll see what happens. They probably won't. It's the Jets, but 6-11.
I will say this. I was a big fan of what the Jets did in the draft. I think they were one of the winners of the draft for sure.
Yeah.
Sauce Gardner's going to be a baller D-back. Garrett Wilson, I think, is going to be a good receiver. Breece Hall, the running back they got in the second round, I think that's going to be a massive pickup for them too. And I have them, like I said, I have them at 1 win, but, I had them losing to Jacksonville. I could see them winning. I have them losing to Chicago. I could see them winning that. So there are a lot of games on here where I feel could go either way. But it's the Jets, and the Jets do Jet things, and that's why I have them at 1 win. I don't think they'll finish at 1 win. I probably will be wrong on that, but just the schedule and how I did things, that's how I had it.
I did.
But so we'll move on to the AFC North, the grit, hard-nosed division of football. I'll let you start out with this one. What'd you have for the AFC North?
So the last couple of years, a bunch of people have been really high in Baltimore, and I hadn't been. And I'm kind of surprised that I ended up predicting this, but I'm actually the opposite this year. I'm actually really high in Baltimore. There's no way on earth they can be as unhealthy as they were last year. They just got totally obliterated, like injury-wise, last year. And it was just, I mean, even to Lamar, their best player, So it's just not going to happen again. And I believe in John Harbaugh. I'm not the biggest Lamar Jackson guy in the world. I don't trust him in the playoffs, but as far as the regular season, dude can ball. And they still got a good roster over there. They lost Marquise Brown, but I wasn't a huge Marquise Brown fan anyways. And they're all about the run game, and they use Mark Andrews.
He dropped a lot of passes, too, last year.
And Bateman should come into his own. So I like Baltimore. And I actually have them at 13-4.
Oh, wow.
Their schedule's somewhat favorable, and I think they're going to have a resurgence this year. I got Pittsburgh second. It might be a surprise. I just think Tomlin. There was a couple of years ago, I actually said I would fire Tomlin. Probably would have been a mistake because the guy has not had a losing season one time, and it's just kind of baffling. And I know they don't have Big Ben, but honestly, Big Ben wasn't much last year anyways. So
I think he held him back a lot.
So who knows? We might be getting an improvement there quarterback-wise, and I don't even know who it's going to be right now. Is it going to be Pickett's who they drafted, right?
Yep.
I don't know if he's starting week 1, but whoever does start week 1, who knows? Might be an improvement, and it's just a really good run organization, and it's a team you never want to play against. And I have them at 9-8. I have Cincy. The Super Bowl loser always seems to have that Super Bowl hangover. I do think Cincy was good last year, but I don't think they were necessarily Super Bowl good. I know that sounds crazy because they almost won it, but they just kind of got on a hot stretch. You play the playoffs over a couple times. I don't think it goes that way. They almost lost to Tennessee. They would have if our boy Tannehill didn't kind of give that game away. And I'm just
almost lost to Kansas City too.
Right. I don't know. I'm expecting a Super Bowl hangover from them, and they got a hard schedule, that first place schedule. I have them at 8-9. And then Cleveland without Watson for 11 games. It's going to be hard to overcome that. And I have them at 6-11 in last place. But they still should be a pretty competitive last place team, I'd say.
So I also have the Ravens finishing first at 11-6. I'm echoing pretty much everything that you've said. I'm not a huge Lamar guy. I think he's a heck of a quarterback. When he gets to the playoffs, we all know what happens. Typically, it doesn't go too well. But this is the regular season. Typically, he does all right in the regular season. And I just think you're right. They had so many injuries last year and still managed to be a pretty decent squad despite that. I don't know, as far as, Gus Edwards, when he's supposed to come back, if he already is. They had another J.K. Dobbins got hurt. I don't know what his timetable is to return. So this is a good team.
Last year, wasn't it like Dobbins and somebody else? Wasn't it Marcus Peters and Dobbins? They lost on the same day last year in the offseason before the.
Was it the same day?
I think it was in training camp or like a day apart. It was just unreal what happened to that team last year.
But nonetheless, I saw them finishing first 11-6. I also have Pittsburgh finishing at 10-7 and in second place. I think still defensively, a team with TJ Watt, a team with Minka Fitzpatrick on your defense, you don't need a whole lot of other guys to be really good, but they still do. Cam Hayward's a very solid defensive lineman. They have good players all around on their defense. And then on the offensive side of things, Najee Harris, great running back. Say what you want about Chase Claypool. The guy's kind of an idiot and says a lot of stupid things a lot of the times. But when he is on, he's a good receiver. Washington, good receiver. They got George Pickens, brought him in. I've heard he's been outstanding at camp. And I think you give it to Kenny Pickett to start. Personally, I think if you give it to Mason Rudolph, you give it to Mitch Trubisky. I mean, no knock at them, but I give it to the rookie. I mean, you drafted this guy in the first round. It's not like you're putting him on a, you know, Houston Texans team where you're destined to fail from the get-go.
Right.
He's on, I was arguably one of the best coaches in football, and Mike Tomlin. Throw the rookie out there, let him learn a little bit, see how he does. He's been kind of lighting it up in preseason too, from what I've heard. Third place, I have the Browns finishing at 9-8. Even that I think is probably a little generous on my side. Not having Deshaun Watson there for 11 games is going to hurt. Now, Jacoby Brissett, I'm assuming, will be the quarterback one during this time. Not a bad quarterback. Had him in Miami for a little bit. I think this is a very talented roster, though, and maybe that's why I give them 9 wins. You still have Nick Chubb out there. You still have a pretty solid defense out there. So I think they're going to win a lot of grinded out grit games that'll probably come down to the last couple possessions, and hold off until he gets there. And then fourth place, I have the Bengals also finishing at 9-8. It's always hard for me to say a team's I will never say a team's a fluke. Cinderella story maybe. I think if you're destined to be there at the time, you're destined to be there at the time. I don't think the Bengals are going to be as good as they were last year. You're right. They just got hot at the right time and rode that wave. 9-8 though, I think with the roster that they have is still a very respectable record to give.
I just don't trust their defense enough.
I don't. Yeah, me either.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Eli Apple being one of your top cornerbacks, you're not going to win too many ball games, I don't think. But
yeah.
So now we'll go to the AFC South. I think this has potential to be maybe one of the worst divisions in football.
Yeah, I mean, what's new?
Yeah, right. Usually the South and the NFC and AFC typically is not all that great. So I'm starting it off with the Tennessee Titans. Shocking. I have the Titans finishing in first place in the South. Who would have saw that coming? I have them finishing first at 13-4, which would give them the number 1 seed for me in the AFC. Now, 13 wins. I even thought about it after I did it. I'm like, Arthur Juan isn't there. Although Julio Jones didn't do much, it's still Julio Jones. He's not there. But, they brought in Robert Woods, who's a good player.
His name is Bobby Trees.
Bobby Trees. Bobby Trees. Traylon Burks, I think, is a pretty good receiver. He was drafted middle of the first round. Tannehill had a pretty awful playoff game last year, Goat, but I think he's still a serviceable quarterback. And if he starts sucking, throw Malik Willis. I think Malik Willis is an okay quarterback.
I love that pick.
And you still have King Henry in the backfield, hopefully coming back completely healthy. With all those considerations, and also heavily considering the division in which they play in, I think 13 wins is very manageable. They have a very favorable schedule. They play the Giants too. They play Washington. They're going to have some tough games in the middle. They play Kansas City, Denver, Green Bay all in a row. So that's going to be a tough stretch. That'll be a big test for them to see how they do. But I have them finishing at 13-4. The Indianapolis Colts, I have them finishing in second place. I think they're going to really disappoint this year. I have them at 7-10. Jonathan Taylor, I think, is going to be a dog. I think Pittman's going to be a dog. I even think Matt Ryan's going to play well. I've never thought Matt Ryan hasn't played well in Atlanta, but it's Pittman, and then who's your next guy? If Pittman's having an off day, who are they going to have to throw to? So that's something that I really thought about and why I had them only at 7 wins. they just seem like a team that doesn't have enough weapons. Now you could just give it to Jonathan Taylor and let him ride you out for those wins, and you might get more, and that might work. But you're gonna have to throw it at some point. And if Pittman's having an off day, I don't know who's gonna step up and take the place. Um, the defense is okay. Yeah, obviously Darius Leonard is a baller,
Oh, yeah.
but after that, it's just I think they'll disappoint this year. And then at the Jaguars, finishing third at 13, or sorry, 3-14.
13.
Yeah, yeah. 3-14. Again, I think this is a team that did very well in the offseason. And I love that Trayvon Walker is a very good pick. Devin Lloyd, very good pick. Both first round defensive end and linebacker. They brought in Christian Kirk in the offseason. That's a big pickup.
For a lot of money.
Yep. ETN's supposed to be back. We didn't get to see him at all last year, so that'll be big. Just probably the most I'm going to be able to hype up a 3-win team at the end of the day. They're still a very, very, very young team. I love Doug Peterson. I think he's a hell of a coach, but I think he's going to really struggle this year. Jacksonville's got a tough schedule. They got to play Denver, Vegas, Kansas City, Tennessee, Baltimore, Dallas. Washington's not going to be an easy ball game. Chargers. So I have them finishing at 3 wins, and I have the Texans at 2-15. If I'm being honest with you, I could see this team losing every game. I know that's a very tough thing to do, but there isn't a lot about this team that I like. I think Stingley will be okay. John Mechie, the wide receiver they got from Alabama, is going through leukemia treatments. So who knows when he'll be able to play, if he will at all. Davis Mills is okay. Brandon Cooks is okay, but I don't know. We'll have to see what happens there. But I have them at 2-15.
All right. I have Indy number 1. I have them at 11-6. I'm not huge on Indianapolis. It's just the schedule's fairly favorable. The division's not very good. And there's just a little bit of question marks with Tennessee a little bit. So I kind of thought Matt Ryan was done. But at the end of the day, it might just be, Atlanta has not been a very good team the last couple of years. Maybe he'll kind of have a little resurrection of a season here in Indy. We'll see. And I have them at 11-6. The concerns you bring up with the wide receivers, though, definitely is a concern. I probably didn't look into that as much as I should have. Yeah, they got Pittman Jr., but there really isn't much else there. So we'll see if that ends up haunting him. Tennessee, I have at 10-7. I'm glad to see you're high on Tennessee. The last couple of years, I've been high on Tennessee, and I've pretty much been right. I predicted them to be the 1 seed in the AFC last year. Most people thought it was crazy. Well, they were. They lost to A.J. Brown, though. Arthur won. They lost Julio. And I still don't understand that Brown trade, but I don't know. But they added Bobby Trees. So I don't know if he's going to be ready week 1. We'll see. But he should be a solid in that offense. But at the end of the day, they got Derrick Henry, so they're gonna be good. They're gonna win. I'm almost regretting already not putting him 1 because Derrick Henry he's a horse, man. Like that dude's gonna get you some wins. But I don't know. There's just a little bit of concerns there with the things that they got worse in the offseason, I feel, and it's a little concerning. So I'll go 10-7. I do think Treylon Burks, though, is going to be big in that offense. I have Jacksonville at 5-12, actually. That's probably, honestly, as sad as it is, as a Jacksonville fan, if you won 5 games, you might be happier this year. I don't know. Like, they've had a rough time as of late, and they're still very, very young. But they got some guys there. I still don't understand that Etienne pick. James Robinson was your best player. Then you go draft a running back, but he didn't even play last year. But now they should have both, so we'll see how they mix them in. And I hope the best for them. We'll see what happens. But at the end of the day, I think they're better than Houston, and I have them at 3-14. If they get 3, heck, that might be a win on the season. Like, this team's bad. We know what I said about the Pittsburgh Pirates. Well, that's what Houston is. They're toiletry. All right.
Yeah.
I'll be almost generous and give them 3 wins. Davis Mills is actually better than people give him credit for, but I can't even tell you who he's throwing the ball to besides Brandon Cooks. To be quite honest, I don't know the running back off the top of my head. Yeah, it's just not a good team.
They did draft Damian Pierce from my Florida Gators at running back, so I'm sure he'll get a lot of reps.
All right.
Rex Burkhead, I think, might still be there. I'm not sure.
That dude's still in the league, huh?
Could be. Complete guess. One more thing to add for the Colts, too. I know this is kind of a weird thing to do with predictions because you're doing it kind of based off of what they do in the past. But the Colts are probably the most lose a stinker game in the entire NFL. It seems like there has been a lot of times where they have a game that they should most definitely win going into it, like a Jacksonville Jaguars to get into the playoffs last year,
Yeah,
and they lose.
that was bad.
So we'll have to see what happens, but that's what I have them. So now we are moving into the NFC, your conference here. So we'll start with the NFC East. Just get it out of the way. If you want to start us with this one, what do you have the NFC East looking like?
All right, this probably won't be correct because they haven't had a back-to-back winner of their division in like a decade. But I'd pick Dallas to win the division most of the last few years. I still think they're the best roster in that division. I think they have been for a while. It's just whether it's just whether Dallas comes to play or not any given day. You just never know what team you're going to get. But Dak's the best quarterback in the division. The Eagles, I don't know. The receiving core for once might not be the best receiving core in the division, but you still got CeeDee Lamb. Gallup, I know, is hurt, but he should be back at some point. But you got Elliott and Pollard, and the O-line, they lost a couple guys, but they should still be a pretty solid O-line. So the offense should score points. It's just whether the defense is going to allow more or not. I mean, they got some guys over there. They just don't have enough. They're missing some spots, but I trust it'll be good enough, and I think they can repeat and go 11-6. Philly, everybody's talking about how good wide receivers they got. I mean, they added Arthur Juan and they got Devontae Smith, but I mean, I've seen there's a lot of teams that better, but at the end of the day, it just matters how good of a passer Jalen Hurts grows into be, anyways. So I like Hurts. I really like Hurts for fantasy, but I have doubts about his passing ability. I do think he'll be a pretty decent quarterback, though. I just don't think it's going to put them over the top of Dallas. So I'll put them at 10-7. Washington, kind of a tough team to predict. Carson Wentz is just not what he used to be. But they got some really good players over there. McLaurin, Scary Terry. You got Chase Young, and just I like. Ron Rivera's still there, I believe, right?
Yep, Riverboat Ron.
Yeah, Riverboat Ron. I've always really liked him as a coach. He's a very solid coach. And I like Washington. I just don't think they have really enough pieces right now, but I'll put them at 7-10. And the Giants, I mean, I could honestly see the Giants surprising being pretty good this year. But at the end of the day, they're probably going to be the same old bad Giants team they have been for the last few years. And I'm not even sure they get to 6 wins, but I'll give them 6. I'll go 6-11. I think they should be able to beat Washington once. They should be able to steal 1 or 2 from Dallas and Philly, and they got some other winnable games on their schedule. So I'll give them 6-11. I hope the best for Danny Jones, though. I really do like Daniel Jones. I just think he ended up on a crappy team, and I want better for the man because I like Danny Dimes.
I agree with you a lot on the Danny Dimes take. I think the guy has gotten a lot of unwarranted criticism thrown his way. Now, yes, does he have a fumbling problem? He does. But when you have a terrible offensive line and you're getting hit 20 times a game, it's going to be very hard to hold on to the ball every single time.
He also has a turf monster.
Yeah, turf monster. Yeah, took him out last year too. maybe outside of the Miami Dolphins, the New York Giants have had a very bad offensive line for as long as I can remember. I can never remember a time where the Giants' O-line has been even average. I mean, even in the Eli Manning years, was the offensive line anything to write home about?
Never.
I mean, I can't think so. Um, so, but anyway, so I'll dive into my predictions. So in first place, I have the Cowboys at 9-8. I
Which is
just,
funny because that's worse than your last place team, the AFC West.
yeah, right, right. Um, to me, the Cowboys have lost my understanding. They've lost me caring. I don't care about Dallas anymore. Quite frankly, I really haven't for a while. But every year, I keep giving them the benefit of the doubt. Oh, Zeke got hurt. Oh, they brought in McCarthy. They just got to get his system in there. Oh, a couple injuries here and there. You know what? And I'm tired of it because with this division, I'm sorry. Washington, great underdog story. I love me some Riverboat Ron. Love me some Scary Terry. Not a good football team. New York Giants. I just said my piece on them. Kenny Galladay went there, didn't even have a touchdown. Okay, not a good football team. Philadelphia Eagles should be better than they are every year, but somehow every year they do very bad. I mean, not even just under expectations, significantly under expectations. And Dallas somehow finds a way to drop a game or two to all of these teams. They find a way where they're either barely making the playoffs by the skin of their teeth, or they're just missing it completely when Taylor Heineke put a Washington Commanders team on his back and willed him to the playoffs. Dallas, I'm sorry. This is the most roasting I think I will ever have on a team finishing first place. But at 9-8 for a first place team, I like Dak Prescott, but something's got to change here with him. I don't know how much of it is on him. I don't know how much of it's on coaching. I don't know. But when you keep having the roster that you have, when you've had the Amari Coopers of the world, Zeke, CeeDee Lamb, I mean, Des Bryant, right away when he first started, and you're consistently just being subpar with that team, I don't know what to tell you, Jerry Jones. Maybe you need to figure something out. But I have them finishing at 9-8 in first place. Second place, I have the Eagles finishing in 5-12. I think on paper, like you kind of said, the offense looks like it should be good. Devontae Smith last year didn't really. I mean, he was good, but he wasn't great. He was a pretty average receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Arthur Wan's going to be big, but we'll have to see how Jalen Hurts does. At the end of the day, it's what it's going to come down to. If he can play at an elite level or just really good, I maybe could see the Eagles making the playoffs and having a better record than I had them at, but I just don't know if that's going to be the case. I also have the Giants at 5-12. Once again, like I just said, for the 700th year in a row, Giants have a horrendous offensive line, but all the blame is going to be put on Daniel Jones. And he's a quarterback, so at the end of the day, yeah, he deserves to get some of the blame. But they have a good offense. Saquon Barkley, yeah, can't really stay healthy, but we know when the guy's healthy and on the field, he can do good things. Like Sterling Shepard, he's a good receiver. Kenny Galladay, like I said, didn't have a single touchdown last year, but he's a good receiver. If they even had just a middle of the road offensive line, like just 15th, 16th, 17th ranked overall, I think the Giants could potentially be a good team. But they never have a good offensive line, and that's been their Achilles heel for how long now? And then I have the Commanders finishing in 4-13. I don't mind Carson Wentz. I'm not a big fan. I'm not a hater. I just, he's okay. And he's got Terry McLaurin and Antonio Gibson. Outside of that, I mean, you better hope that defensive line gets a lot of turnovers with you inside the 20. or else they ain't going to be doing a whole lot. And I have them finishing at 4-13. So that was the NFC East. That's probably the most in I'm going to go in on a division this whole year. But thank you, Dallas Cowboys, for routinely being mediocre every single year. Anyways, going into the NFC West, I'll start out with this one. I have the Rams finishing in first place at 14-3. This is a team that really didn't lose anyone. They brought in Bobby Wagner too, which could you think that defense could get any better? Bring in Bobby Wagner, okay, sure. Arguably one of, if not the best middle linebacker in all of football, depending on who you talk to. Still have their great offense. Sean McVay's still the head coach. Not worried about Matthew Stafford. I think this team could very easily win 14 games, and I have them at 14-3. Finishing at second place, I was pretty shocked about this going into it. I certainly didn't think that I would have them finishing in this position, but going through the schedules and the lineup, sure enough, I did. I have the San Francisco 49ers finishing at 10-7. For me, out of all of my predictions, that's the one where I'm the most indifferent about. If, and this is a big if, the stars align and the players that they have play how they're supposed to and they don't have injuries, I do think this is a very good football team. Nick Bosa had 15 and a half sacks last year, I believe, and barely batted an eye because they were just booty. What are they going to do at quarterback? Are they going to go with Jimmy Garoppolo or are they going to go with Trey Lance?
Sounds like Lance.
And that's a tough one. I don't know who you go with on that. But, you brought back Deebo Samuel. That was massive. If they would have let him go, no way I have him winning 10 games. George Kittle is still a boss. Elijah Mitchell is going to be pretty good. So I'll have to see what they do. I have them at 10-7. Like I said, that's not one where I'd bring the Vegas with any bets and finishing that position because I could very well see them not finishing 500 at all, depending on how things go. So, and I think the big thing is going to come down to who's playing quarterback too. I also then in third place have the Cardinals finishing at 10-7. DeAndre Hopkins not being there for like the first 6 games, I believe, of the season.
Yeah.
That's going to be very big because they lost Christian Kirk. D-Hop's not there for the first 6. So now you're hoping on Marquise Brown. I mean, who else do they have to throw to?
Zach
I mean,
Ertz.
Ertz. But, I mean, Kyler Murray, we all know, can make a lot of something out of nothing. But, they lost Chase Edmonds to my Miami Dolphins, too. Like, this is a team that has lost a lot in the offseason. I still have them winning 10 games in a 10-7. And then the last place is the Seattle Seahawks at 6-11. Sorry, Seahawks fans, going from Russell Wilson to Drew Lock, you're not going to be really surprised on any folks. So I've been finishing at 6-11. What does your NFC West look like?
I also have the Rams repeating as the division winner. I'm a little concerned coming out of Super Bowl. Sometimes, you get that shortened off season, you get a little tired. You get that, you got the highest of highs winning it, and then, you get the lowest sometimes the next season. But they're a really solid football team. Just a great roster, a great coach. And I don't like any of the other teams in the division that much, so I still have them repeating. I only have them at 11-6, which is by no means bad, but probably a little under what they're expected. But I have them at 11-6 in first place. I have Arizona in second. They started off 8-0 last year, whatever it was, and then just fell off a cliff. A large part in that because D-Hop was gone. They were not good without D-Hop, and he's missing the first 6 games this year. And the first 6 games are the Chiefs, Raiders, Rams, then Panthers, Eagles, Seahawks. I mean, 3 or 4 of those games are very tough. It's going to be hard to win any of them without D-Hop. And they don't have Christian Kirk, who wasn't great, isn't worth what he's getting in Jacksonville, but he's a good wide receiver. It's going to be hard to replace that. And Kyler doesn't have that much to throw to now. I mean, Zach Ertz, I think, should have a really good fantasy season, by the way, because of that. He's really going to be relied on heavily. But I still trust Kyler. Like, the dude can scramble like none other. He's still a very good quarterback, and I think they should be able to get 9-8. Oh, they also lost Chandler Jones, which is a huge loss.
Right.
But he's been injured a little bit the last couple of years anyways, but that dude's probably the best pass rusher in the league. But Budda Baker's still really good over there on that defense too. So, and I actually have them tied with actually, check that. I have Arizona and San Francisco tied. I think I wrote down Arizona second, but that's right. I actually have San Francisco winning the tiebreaker over them. So I have San Francisco at 9-8 in second, Arizona at 9-8 in third. So yeah, I have San Fran at 9-8. I think Lance is going to be the starter. We'll see. It's hard to say what to expect from him. I mean, haven't really seen him much. I think he should be pretty good. It would be interesting to see him and Debo in an offense together.
Yeah.
And the way Debo was used last year was just unreal the season that guy had. Hopefully he repeats it again. He's a keeper on one of my fantasy teams. So, yeah, and I really like Debo. I'm not huge on San Fran, but they just got so many good players like on so many different spots. You got, Bosa. You got the linebacker's name is Warner, right? Warner.
Yeah, Fred Warner.
Fred Warner. They just got good guys all over the place where they should be able to go 9-8. And then Seattle. I mean, hey, just be glad you were really good a few years ago, because yeah, you're not anymore. I mean, nothing against Drew Lock, but he's not the greatest, to say the least. You don't really have anything on the defensive end now. Chris Carson retired. I do like Rashad Penny, though. I mean, if there's one thing, they got really good skill position players. I like Penny. They got Metcalf and they got Lockett, and I think they got Noah Fant. So Drew Lock's got everything he needs, including a tight end he's already worked with before.
Yeah.
They just don't have anything else. They don't have a line. They don't have defense, and they don't really have a quarterback. So I'll go 3-14. I could see this team being the worst team in the league. I actually have them tied for the worst record with Houston at 3-14. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point too with Seattle. Drew Lock has all the pieces on offense to be good, and he very well could be. He could click with all those guys. That could happen. But the defense is just so bad. I mean, Jamal Adams is a good safety, but who else? That's what it comes down to. So now we will move over to the NFC North, Mr. Doetkott, your division here. So I will let you take the charge on this. What do you have in the NFC North?
I had the Vikings at 12-5 winning the division. Maybe it's a little bit of homer me, but I had to, when I did it all, I try to make sure that wins and losses are even, so it mathematically computes. And I needed to drop a couple wins from a few teams, and I let my buddy talk me down and drop a win from the Vikings. I didn't want to do it, but I did. So I actually have a tie with the Packers and Vikings at 11-6. But the Vikings always find a way to lose to the Bears once or the Lions once, and the Packers don't. So by divisional tiebreaker, I'll have Green Bay get the division at 11-6 record. Under is LaFleur. Under LaFleur.
Yep.
13-3, 13-3, and 14-3, I think, or 13-3, 13-3, 13-4, something like that. It's just ridiculous. But I think they're going to take a little step down. I mean, they lost Devontae, and they've been a little bit of a lucky 13-3 here and there. Like, things have gone their way a little bit. And who knows if Rodgers is going to play like an MVP for the third straight year. We'll see. But 11-6 is still very good. I'm at 11-6. I also have the Vikings at 11-6. This team, honestly, maybe it's the homer in me, but looking at on paper, this team should win 12-13 easily. They should. Like, they have good guys everywhere. They just don't. It's the Vikings. They allowed the most runs in NFL history last year in the last 2 minutes of the halves. If they didn't allow any points in the last 2 minutes of either half, they would have went like 13-4 or something like that. It's just ridiculous how bad their 2-minute defense was last year. But Zimmer, he had a great he did a great job with the Vikings, but I think towards the end he was just too stubborn, refused to switch to how deep to how offenses go nowadays, and he was just exploited. And I really like the addition of our coach. I really think he's going to do good. Hopefully the defense can figure it out, because the defense has all sorts of talent. They just need to all just
lock in,
get it done as a unit for once. And I'm just hoping. But I have them at 11-6. Detroit, we've talked. Some people think they'll be decent this year. I just can't buy into them. I just can't. It's Detroit. They got a decent roster, but it's still not great. Like, their defense is not going to be good. They got some stuff on offense. They added Hutchinson on defense, in the first round, but I just don't think they have enough. They have enough to be third, though, because I have them at 5-12. Because Chicago is just, I don't think they're going to be good at all this year. I could see this team being the worst team in the league. Justin Fields, I can't really say anything about him yet. He hasn't played much, but maybe it's just the fact he's an Ohio State quarterback. At this point, I bought into it. I bought into it. They just aren't good. They just don't succeed in the NFL. The little bit we have seen from him, I wasn't too impressed. But honestly, it's hard to judge him anyways, because he has nobody. He has Darnell Mooney to throw to, but Darnell Mooney's your number one. Like, they lost Khalil Mack. They just
got Montgomery in the backfield.
But they just quite honestly have a terrible roster. It's putting it bluntly, but they do. And 4 wins is probably generous, but I'll give them 4.
So I'm going to get into my NFC North predictions. I have the Packers finishing in first place with a record of 14-3. Now, let me say this. They lost Davante Adams, potentially the best receiver in football, who you talk to. Massive loss. Not only did they lose him, they lost another home run receiver, Valdez-Scantling. Guy caught a lot of deep passes from Rodgers. So now you're looking, who's your number one? Probably Alan Lazard. I mean, that's not too great to me. You lost Darius Smith. He was a good linebacker for the Packers. Now, starting off on that depressing note, you may be thinking, Lucas, then why do you have them at 14 wins? Well, it's because it's the Green Bay Packers, and somehow they always find a way to win ball games. Whether they deserve it or not, whether they have some calls go their way or not, I don't know what it is, but they always find a way to win.
Be glad you're not a Vikings fan. I have to witness that week in and week out every stinking year. Oh, it just irks me, man.
Well, maybe not for the Packers, but for many years with the Patriots, I can definitely feel your sentiment on that.
I guess you might have me beat on
that. But say what you will about the receiving corps, not going to win any awards for being the best in football, that's for sure. But Aaron Rodgers is a back-to-back MVP for a reason. I can imagine he would just completely fall off the face of the earth and be terrible. I think this is still a quarterback that is on a mission. Say what you will about the guy. Yeah, is he kind of a D-bag? Sure. Is he a likable guy? Not really. But there's one thing that you have to agree on, regardless of where you stand as a football fan, is Aaron Rodgers is still very much an elite quarterback. And until, to me, I'm giving him the Tom Brady treatment right now. Until Aaron Rodgers shows to me that this man shouldn't be on a football field anymore, I am not going to doubt him in winning games. Tom Brady's won a lot of games with not very many good players. I think Aaron Rodgers is very much capable of doing the same thing. Outside of Davante Adams, he made other guys be decent. They still, A.J. Dillon is still there. They still have Aaron Jones there. I mean, 2 very good running backs. We'll have to see what happens. But I have them at 14-3. And then you talked about, it should get the Vikings 13 wins, 14 wins. maybe get talked off the ledge a little bit. Well, I am here to tell you that I'm giving the Vikings 13 wins. Looking at this schedule, looking
Yes.
at this roster, and the new head coach coming from under the wings of Sean McVay, there is no reason why this team is not capable of winning 13 football games this year.
I like it.
I mean, look,
Yes. Say it again.
the 13 wins for the Minnesota Vikings.
Yes.
Looking at their schedule, okay, obviously you play Green Bay twice. That's probably a split. I could
Most of
very
the
well
time.
see you beating Chicago twice, but Chicago, for some reason,
Yeah.
always finds a way to just win one of those dumb, low-scoring games against the Vikings every year.
Kind of like your Dolphins would do to the Patriots a lot. Yeah.
Yep. Detroit, I could see them sweeping them. And then outside of that, you have Philadelphia. I think they beat them. You have New Orleans. I think that's a win. Miami, I could see that going either way.
I'll be honest. I mean, I'm obviously looking forward to that game. Being you, the Dolphins
Yeah.
fan, me, Vikings fan. It's in Miami. I truly think Vikings are a better team just by a bit. I'm gonna
Mhm.
lean Dolphins that game though. In Miami, I just feel like I don't know. For some reason I feel like Tua is gonna find a way to beat us, but we'll see. But continue.
They play Washington. I think they can beat Washington. Buffalo's a tough game. I don't think they win that. I think they're a far better football team than Dallas. I think they're a far better football team than New England. Much better football team than the Jets. They play Indianapolis. I think that's a winnable game. They play the Giants. I think that's a very winnable game. I think with the roster that the Minnesota Vikings have and the schedule that they have, I could very well see them winning 13 games. And hell, maybe the Packers do drop a couple of those tougher games. They play Tampa, they play the Rams. Um, Tennessee, they don't have an easy Buffalo. Like I have them winning some of those games. Maybe they drop a couple and the Vikings win a couple of those. And then we're flip-flopped. But I have the Vikings at second and 13-4. Coming in third, I have the Lions at 7-10. I am one of the Lions. I guess I think they could be decent this year. They showed shades last year. There was a chunk of games where the Lions got lioned and they either got hosed by the refs or you have Justin Tucker making a 95-yard field goal to win it.
Gosh.
If both of those things happen, the Lions maybe are a 4-win football team. And I think from what they've done so far this offseason, mainly in the draft to now, I think they could definitely do that. You mentioned Aiden Hutchinson. They got Jamison Williams, wide receiver from Alabama, in the first round. That guy's going to be a stud. I'm a massive Dan Campbell guy. I love the culture that this guy builds there. Yeah, is he kind of wild in some of the stuff that he says? Yeah, but you can tell this man wants to win games, and I bet every single person in that locker room would be willing to run through a brick wall for that guy. I know I do. I don't even play football.
Bite a kneecap off.
Bite a kneecap. DeAndre Swift, he got over 1,000 total yards last year. Jamal Williams, he's a solid back. TJ Hawkinson. And looking at their schedule again, I don't want to go game by game here for every team, but they play Chicago twice. They could split there. They could beat Carolina, the Jets, Jacksonville, Giants. New England, I could see them winning. Washington, Philadelphia. So I think they have a lot of games to where I don't think Detroit's ever going to blow someone out this year. But I think they have a lot of games to where they maybe finally do get a little fortunate and win a few more towards the end. So I'm in the 7-10. And then I have the Bears finishing in fourth at 6-11. I don't mind Justin Fields. I think he got drafted into a pretty poor situation with Matt Nagy there. I am not at all a Matt Nagy fan. I'm glad when they fired him and got rid of him. Because he just was not good. And then you talk about the offense though. 2 now, yeah, Darnell Mooney is your number 1, and I think that guy's just going to be a stud. He was really good last year. But outside of that, I mean, you got Montgomery. I mean, Cole Kmet's okay. He's all right. But outside of that, nothing to write home about. So I got the Bears finishing at 6-11. So now we go into the NFC South. Again, not going to be a whole lot to talk about in this division. I have Tampa finishing first at 13-4. I could very well see them sweeping every game in that division. I don't know if it probably won't happen, but I could see it happening. I have the Saints finishing at 7-10. Michael Thomas is going to be back. Alvin Kamara is there. Chris Olave, I think, is going to be an absolute stud for the Saints. I think he's one of the best rookie route runners in all of football. I think he will be. They have a very good offense, but the Achilles heel for the Saints, that seems like we're talking about every single year, is that defense. And they have, once again, not a good one. So it'll be interesting to see how they do. The Panthers finishing at 5-12. I like Baker Mayfield. I think he'll be the number 1 guy the whole season. I just don't think that the pieces I think could be there. I just think it's a very young team. They have a very young defense. DJ Moore's still very young. McCaffrey, it seems like he's been in the league for a while. He's still a pretty young running back. I think in a few years, this is a team that could compete. But right now, I still think they got to get the training wheels off, and they haven't done that yet. And then I have the Falcons at 4-13. Again, defense is not going to be good. Not having Calvin Ridley there for a whole year really sucks. Not that would have made too much of a difference, but
would have bet on that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm interested to see how Drake London does this year, the wide receiver out of USC. I think he could be good. Kyle Pitts is going to be really good. So we'll have to see how they do this year. See if they bring in the rookie quarterback Desmond Ridder out of there. We'll have to see what happens, but that's the NFC South.
Yeah, so NFC South, not much to write home about. I'll be pretty quick. I got Tampa at 13-4 also. I could see them at 14-3 or 15-2, honestly. I think this is the best team in the league, along with Buffalo, and their schedule is not that hard. Somehow Tom Brady always gets in a division that's not very good. Anyways, but Brady, as much as I love him, as good as he is, and he's still really good at his age now, every once in a while he has kind of a sneaker game, so maybe they'll have a couple, and that's why they only go 13-4, not 14-3. they're gonna be good. I have them with the 1 seed. New Orleans, I actually think is going to be pretty good. Jameis Winston's nothing special, but he throws a lot of picks. But he still throws for a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns. Like the dude puts points up. He just gives the other team a lot of points too. But if he finds a way to limit his turnovers at all, they could be dangerous. With Thomas coming back, they got Jarvis Landry. Chris Olave.
I forgot about Jarvis Landry. Yeah, I forgot about
Chris
that.
Olave. They should have a really good offense. Kamara's kind of up in the air. If he gets a suspended or not, we'll see. But yeah, I have him at 9-8. Carolina, whether it's Baker or Sam Darnold, it's not that great either way.
Sure.
I mean, they're decent, but not great. But they got DJ Moore, but he's all right. They got CMC, but he'll break his knee week 4.
Stop it.
So yeah, 7-10 Carolina and Atlanta. Yeah, you're just booty. Yeah, not very good. I got some coworkers that like Atlanta. Sorry to you guys. I like Atlanta. I do. I just don't think they're going to be very good. I think there's a good chance we'll see Desmond Ridder this year. I hope Mariota does good, though.
I like Mariota. He deserves a shot.
I really like Oregon. I've always liked Mariota. Hopefully he does good this year, but he doesn't have much to work with either. Kyle Pitts should have a good fantasy year. There's no way he doesn't go without touchdowns this year. He's going to get so many targets. Drake London should be a good candidate for Rookie of the Year. But their defense doesn't have much. Younghoe Koo might be the best player on their team. 4-13.
Yep. Yeah, the Atlanta Falcons are a team that I've never not liked. They've always, for as long as I can remember, have always had some of the best offenses in the entire league.
Oh,
and And this year, that may still be the case. I think not having Calvin Ridley
It's
there
gonna be
might
weird
drop
not
the
having
ball.
Matt Ryan with him, huh? How many games has Matt Ryan not started in the last 12 years for the Falcons?
Can't be many. Can't be more than a handful.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how Atlanta does this year. Hopefully, I like when Atlanta plays well. I like watching them play. So hopefully, maybe they're a team that few drafts kind of rebuild the roster a little bit, rebuild it. And if I'm Atlanta, we kind of talk about in baseball, like the Tampa Bay Rays. If you're a pitcher in the Rays organization, you're probably in contention to win a Cy Young at some point. Los Angeles Dodgers. The Atlanta Falcons just know how to produce a good offense. They always have.
Wide receiver factory.
Exactly. Wide receiver factory in Atlanta. But the defenses have usually just been pretty horrendous.
To put it
I mean,
lightly.
even the year they were in the Super Bowl, they blew that big lead to the Patriots.
That's the reason they made the Super Bowl that year, because their defense was actually decent for once, good enough. But then, they blow a 28-3 lead.
But even then, decent is the best they've ever been for as long as I can. They've never been an elite defense from when I started watching football. Maybe when Dion was there, I don't know. But so we're gonna go into the playoffs now. So Nick, I want you to start us off here in the AFC. Give me your 1 to 7 seeds and the matchups that you have them going against.
All right. Well, I had Baltimore and Buffalo tied, but they play each other mid-season in Baltimore, so I'll give Baltimore the tiebreaker. So I have Baltimore as the 1, so they have the bye. I have Buffalo as the 2 against the Chargers as the 7. I have 3 Kansas City versus Las Vegas in a divisional matchup, who's the 6. Then I have the 4 Colts versus, in another divisional matchup, Tennessee, the 5.
I have the Tennessee Titans as my number 1 seed. I have Kansas City as number 2. My 3rd seed is Buffalo at 4. I have Baltimore playing my Miami Dolphins. I did have them making the playoffs as a 5 seed. As a 6 seed, I have the Chargers. So I have the Chargers going to Buffalo, playing Buffalo in the first round. And I have Pittsburgh as the 7th seed going to Kansas City and playing Pittsburgh.
By the way, I have Miami tied with Las Vegas, Tennessee, and Los Angeles Chargers. I have a 4-way tie at 10-7, and they just happen to be the one that doesn't get the tiebreaker. So
fortunate. And then in the NFC, I have the Rams as the number 1 seed. I have Green Bay 2. I have Tampa at 3, and then I have Dallas at 4. I have the Vikings at 5 playing Dallas. I have the 49ers at 6 playing Tampa. And then as a 7th seed, I have Arizona playing the Packers. So who do you have for the NFC?
I have Tampa with the bye at the 1. I have Green Bay 2, Los Angeles Rams 3, Dallas 4, playing 5 Minnesota. I have 6 Philly against the Rams and 7 San Fran against Green Bay again in the playoffs.
Okay, so let's hear those playoff matchups. Who you have winning now? So let's just, I guess, give me your whole.
Wild card round first, maybe.
Yeah, if you want to do the wild card, who do you have?
I've got Green Bay versus San Fran again. Seems to be Achilles' heel for the Packers is the Niners, but I do think there's going to be quite a bit difference in how good the teams are against each other this year. Granted, there was last year too, but I'll give it to Green Bay this year. They can't lose them again, can they? So we'll go with Green Bay. Then I have the Rams versus Philly. I don't think that one will be particularly close. I got Rams. And I got Dallas versus Minnesota. I'm a little worried. Minnesota has not played good against Dallas the last couple of years. We've actually lost to them in the backup quarterback 2 years in a row. But I think we're the better team. And some reason we've almost been a better road playoff team than we have been a home team the last couple of years. Not that we've had many home games. We beat New Orleans in the Superdome not too long ago. So I'll give it to Minnesota in a close game. Minnesota over Dallas. The AFC, I got Buffalo versus the Chargers. Potentially, could be a really cold, snowy game. Buffalo's used to that. The Chargers obviously aren't. I don't think it would matter anyways. I got Buffalo. I got Kansas City over the Raiders. And I got Tennessee as the one road team beating Indianapolis. Derrick Henry is just going to run all over him.
Okay. My NFC, so I have Packers as 2 playing Arizona. I don't really think that's going to be too close of the game. I think with having DeAndre Hopkins back, it could. But I think at the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers, Kyler Murray, I'm going to have to go with Aaron Rodgers. So I have the Packers winning that one. And then the 49ers and Tampa. Again, it's going to come down to the quarterback play. And when you got the GOAT going up against a tandem of Garoppolo or Lance, easy choice for me. I'm going with Tom Brady. And then Dallas is a 4 hosting the Minnesota Vikings at the 5. I have the Vikings winning that. And I'll be honest, I don't think it will be a close game. Dallas doesn't have a phenomenal defense. Diggs has been getting absolutely torched at practice so far this year, from what I've been hearing.
He did a lot last year too.
He did a lot last year too. I think offensively, the Vikings are a better team. I think defensively, they're a better team, and I think O'Connell's going to be a better coach than McCarthy's going to be this year. So I have the Vikings winning.
I hope you're right, buddy.
I have them winning, so we'll see if that stays true or not. And then AFC, I have Kansas City as a 2 playing Pittsburgh. I think this is where Kenny Pickett's good rookie season comes to an end. I think Kansas City's going to win this one. I don't think it'll be as high scoring of a game as people might think. I think it'll be a defensive battle, but I'm going to go with Kansas City. And then I have Baltimore as a 4 hosting Miami. I tried very, very hard to not let my Miami bias get in the way. I will say this. We played Baltimore last year. We handled them very easily. I mean, it was not – it kind of was a close game at some points.
Did Lamar play?
Yeah, Lamar played. Picked him off a couple times. The defense didn't really get any worse. Javon Holland, put this on a poster if you want right now. When the season is all said and done, this man should talk his way into Defensive Player of the Year conversation. He was arguably last year, as a rookie, one of the best safeties in all of football. Not just rookies, but of all of football. He was outstanding. And apparently he has about 5 or 6 interceptions so far this year when they've been doing 11 on 11s and joint practices and stuff. So I think that man's going to be an absolute stud. But at the end of the day, I think Baltimore and John Harbaugh is going to come find out a way to win. Lamar Jackson's playoffs. I know, I really wanted to, but Lamar Jackson's playoff struggles are going to be behind them. I think Miami's going to be a close game, and I give it to them. So Baltimore's going to win. And then Buffalo's the 3, hosting the Chargers as the 6, folks. Upset alert, I have the Los Angeles Chargers beating the Buffalo Bills.
No playoff wins for Buffalo.
I think offensively, the Chargers might be on the same level as Buffalo, if not better this year. I think Justin Herbert could very well play himself into an MVP conversation. Keenan Allen's an absolute stud. Austin Eckler's an absolute stud. And then you look at the defense, it's maybe just pretty comparable as Buffalo. I like Derwin James a lot. I like Joey Bosa a lot. Khalil Mack coming in is ginormous. And now I'm drawing a blank on some other ballers, but I have the Chargers winning. I don't think the Colts get to affect them. So I go with the Chargers winning that one. So that is my upset of the first round in the wild card. So now we have the second round, I believe, divisional round. I'm going to start in the NFC for this one. I have the Rams playing the Vikings. I think this is where the Vikings season ends. I think the Rams are a very, very good football team, and I have them beating Minnesota. And then Green Bay and Tampa, the game we had a couple years ago in the playoffs. Um, I think Aaron Rodgers has his playoff demons when it comes to his defense not playing well, and I think Tampa wins. I don't want to pick Tampa, but I have to go with my head, and I think Tampa would win that. So what did your NFC look like?
All right, well, I have Tampa and Minnesota. Lucas, can you imagine me watching the Vikings in the playoffs against Tom Brady?
Good Lord. That's going to be a tough one for you.
I have no doubt in my mind I'd be cheering all wholeheartedly for the Vikings, but it'd be hard to watch Brady tear me apart. But yeah, I cannot under any circumstances pick the Vikings right now to beat Tampa. So I have Tampa. And then Green Bay versus the Rams. I don't want to pick it, but I will say Green Bay beats the Rams.
Okay.
In Green Bay, I'll say Rodgers goes off. I'll say Green Bay wins. I'll give Green Bay that one.
Okay.
And then I'll go ahead and do AFC.
Sure.
I have Baltimore versus Tennessee. We've seen this one before in the playoffs, and I believe Baltimore won the last time. I will give it to them again this time. I could see it's hard for me to pick against Derrick Henry in the playoffs, and I'm not a big Lamar fan, as I've said, especially or in the playoffs. It's hard for me to trust him. But this game, as the 1 seed in the division round, I'll give it to Baltimore. And then Buffalo versus Kansas City, a rematch of that incredible game last year. That game was just redonkulous.
Yeah.
And I felt bad for Buffalo, genuinely. And it's hard to beat Kansas City, but I think Buffalo will get it done this year. It'll be in Buffalo this year rather than Kansas City, and I'll say Buffalo.
Okay. My AFC, I have the number 1 Titans going up against the number 6 Chargers, and then the number 2 Chiefs going up against the number 4 Baltimore Ravens. I think that Chiefs-Ravens game is going to be an absolute firepower offensive of the game. I'm going to go with Kansas City, though. I think at the end of the day, they have a better roster over Baltimore, and I trust Mahomes more than Lamar Jackson. And a lot of times, it shouldn't be as simple as that. But when the guy that behind the centers kind of can dictate the game, a lot of times it is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
So I have Kansas City winning. And then the Titans versus the Chargers. Ladies and gentlemen, the Chargers Cinderella season does not stop here. I have them beating the Tennessee Titans as well, too. I think the Buffalo is a toss-up. I think I can go either way. I'll be honest. If they play the Tennessee Titans, I think the Chargers have a better roster than the Titans do right now. The Titans may have a couple better players, but I think overall, depth-wise, I got to go with the Chargers. So I have the Chargers winning, going up against Kansas City to go to the Super Bowl. Phillip Rivers is on the edge of his seat watching this team play.
That would be a
Him
game.
and his 11 kids.
That would be a game.
So so now we have the AFC NFC Championship games here. I guess if you want to take the lead on these, who do you got for that?
I'll go a rematch of I think 2 years ago, Tampa versus Green Bay, which who would not want to see this? Yeah. In Tampa again, and I'm giving it to Tom Brady. I'm gonna side with Brady, especially at home. I think Tampa's the better roster. I think they're the better team. They've given me every reason to trust them in the playoffs. Rodgers and the Packers have given me absolutely zero reason to trust them in the playoffs. So I'm going Tampa. And then Baltimore versus Buffalo, another game. This would be a great game to watch. This is in Baltimore, but I think Buffalo is the better team. I think they find a way to make it to the Super Bowl for once. I think Josh Allen's going to show you why Josh Allen is potentially the best quarterback in the league. I mean, there's him, Rodgers, Brady, and Mahomes. Take your pick. I'm trusting Brady more than anyone come playoff, but Josh Allen's really, really good. And I'll give it to Buffalo, which gives us a Buffalo and Tampa Bay Super Bowl.
So for my championship games, I have Kansas City playing the Chargers and the Rams playing Tampa. I have the Rams as the home team as the 1 seed winning, beating Tampa. We all know how Tom Brady does when there's a lot of cooks in his kitchen. We know he doesn't move around. We know he's not mobile. And I think you give the best defense in football and tell him to go run at Tom Brady. Now, it's Tom Brady. He's going to make adjustments. but they've already had a couple injuries to their offensive line, and we're not even at the end of preseason yet.
Yeah, Jensen's out the whole year.
Yep. So I'm going to go with the Rams in that one, and then I have the Chiefs going up against the Chargers for the potential LA versus LA Super Bowl.
Oh, that would be something.
Unfortunately, I had the Chargers losing. Their Cinderella season comes to an end in the AFC Championship. As much as I would like to see them go to the Super Bowl in this matchup, I don't think they would. I think Kansas City's going to come out on top, and we're going to have a Chiefs-Rams Super Bowl. So I will start with this one. This is one I went back and forth on a lot. You have an incredibly high-powered offense and defense in the Rams, and you have a still pretty dang good offense in the Chiefs. At the end of the day, though, Rams didn't really lose anyone all of that big of significance. Chiefs lost Tyreek Hill. And I think at the end of the day, that's what it's going to come down to.
Back to back.
Mahomes not going to have, Kelsey's going to be there and do his thing. But I have the Rams going back to back. I realize it is incredibly difficult to go back to back in any sport, nonetheless football. But I have the Rams winning it all.
It has not happened since, I believe, the Patriots. Let's see. Yeah, I can't remember who the last one is. I think the Patriots are the last ones in the early 2000s or something.
So let's hear your Super Bowl matchup.
Yeah, New England Patriots are the last teams to do it, and that was about 20 years ago. So, hey, we'll see. Maybe. Actually,
maybe.
That wasn't 20 because they won 3 out of 4 not recently. Yeah. So it hasn't been too long, but it's rare. It's rare. So I have Tampa versus Buffalo. I would love to see Kansas City, LA. That would be a heck of a Super Bowl. But I'd love to see Tampa Buffalo. It's always good when Tom Brady's in the Super Bowl. It's always a close game. And I love me some TB12 in Tampa. And Buffalo in the Super Bowl, I mean, that's something we haven't seen in a long, long time. Can they break that 0-for-4 streak? Thankfully for them, they're the only ones who can say they're 0-4 besides us Vikings fans. So, at least we're not the worst of the worst. We got Buffalo there with us. And Buffalo's actually going to one-up us and go to 0-5 because I can't pick against Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. I mean, I can't. I cannot do that. The dude's going to run out of fingers pretty soon. He's got 7. Well, he's going to make it 8, folks.
Wow.
Buccaneers 27, Buffalo 24. Tom Brady maybe rides off into the sunset after
this.
Maybe.
Okay.
I'm not going to say he retires because people were telling me he'd retire for the last 7 years, and I kept telling him no. But maybe.
He did for all of about a week and a half this last offseason.
He's winning Super Bowl number 8 this year. Tom Brady's Super Bowl MVP.
Okay. Well, I hope that doesn't happen. I hope he loses. I hope he doesn't even make the playoffs, and he rides off into the sunset with not making the playoffs. Congrats, Tom Brady. Thank you very much for your service. So now we're going to go into our award predictions. We'll start with the most coveted one, most valuable player, which I think we were both the same on this one. I had Josh Allen winning that.
Yep. It's going to be a quarterback at the end of the day almost every time. Rodgers won 2 in a row, but can he make it 3? And even if he would have a good year, it's unlikely they're even going to vote a guy for the 3rd time. It's not how it should be, but it is. Thought about Brady, but I don't know. You never know. And he's getting up there. Lamar's won it before. But, I'm going to go with who I think might be the best quarterback in the league right now and hasn't won one yet, and is a quarterback of a very good team in the Bills. We just got to talk about him. And I will say Joshua Patrick Allen is your MVP.
Okay. I almost considered Justin Herbert. I think he's going to be a close second behind Allen.
I think he'll be second.
So now we go to, essentially, you may as well call it the MVP 2.0, and that's the Offensive Player of the Year.
Oh, no.
For that one, I went with Travis Kelce of the Kansas City
Interesting.
Chiefs. I think losing Tyreek Hill is going to be massive. Mahomes has the familiarity, has the chemistry, has the success with Kelsey. If it's even possible for that man to do better than he already has in the past, I think this is the year for that to happen. He is going to be even more relied on than he has been. So I have Kelsey winning Offensive Player of the Year.
All right, I'm 50-50 here. I want to say Justin Jefferson. And I don't
I
even
could
think
see
this
it.
is the homer in me. This dude is
I could see
a
it.
absolute beast. I
Mm-hmm.
know what Cooper Kupp did last year. I'd still take Jefferson over Kupp. I'd go Devontae, Jefferson, Kupp. It's really any order, but I truly would. With O'Connell now over here, I think Justin Jefferson is going to absolutely feast. However, I'm going to go with my boy Derrick Henry.
Okay.
It's going to be really close, but it's easier for a running back, I think, to have a consistent. Well, it isn't. It isn't. I guess if Henry stays healthy, they to be plainly honest, they just need Henry to do good. The Vikings probably need Jefferson to do really good if they want to be really good, but if they just want to be, I mean, if Jefferson doesn't do great, I think they can still win. If Henry doesn't do good, the Titans aren't good. Like they feed this guy every time. So I just think it's probably a little more likely for Henry, but I'm about 50-50. But I'll go Derrick Henry. I could see Justin Jefferson, and trust me, the dude's going to feast this year.
I agree. I definitely think he will. So now we have Defensive Player of the Year. Who did you have for that?
It's always so tough. It's probably the hardest one to predict. But normally it's a pass rusher, because even though D-backs a lot of times deserve it, it's just they don't rack up the stats necessarily, that pass rushers do. I know Gilmore won it not too long ago, but I mean, Chandler Jones is a lot of times I want my pick because I truly think he's the best pass rusher in the league, but he's had that injury concern. But you got him with Max Crosby now. You got two good pass rushers in LA for the Chargers. You got two big pass rushers for the Vikings, and then you always got Aaron Donald. It's. I mean, at the end of the day, he could probably win it every single year.
Hmm.
But I'm going to go with Chandler Jones again. I just think the guy's got to get one eventually. So we'll go with Chandler Jones.
Okay. I'm going to go with Nick Bosa. The man had an absolutely outstanding year last year, and he missed a few games too. He finished, like I said, with like 15 and a half sacks. So I'm going to go with him for Defensive Player of the Year. I think this is the year he wins it. He's an absolute stud. So now I have Offensive Rookie of the Year. For this one, I went with Chris Olave from New Orleans Saints. I think as far as rookie receivers go, he's going to have the best year. I think route running ability, IQ, everything. I'm a huge, huge, huge Chris Olave fan. It's going to come down to how Jameis Winston does, obviously, the one throwing in the ball. But I have Olave winning Rookie of the Year for the offense.
I mentioned mine earlier. Somebody's got to fill the shoes of Arthur Juan and Julio over there in Tennessee. I think Robert Woods will do a good job of it, but I don't even know if he's going to play week one. They drafted Treylon Burks to try to help fill those shoes. And I think, just to be quite honest, I think he just has the best chance of most rookies because I think he's going to be relied upon the most. Olave is going to be good, I think, but there's two other guys to get the ball over there as well. So I'm just going to go with Treylon Burks. I think he's got the best opportunity to do it.
Defensive Rookie of the Year. For this one, I went with Kayvon Thibodeau from the New York Giants. I think if there is any positive that comes from the Giants this year, I think it's going to be how this guy plays. I think defensively, Giants don't have a whole lot of great things going on there, which means they're even going to be more heavily relied on him to do stuff. He's going to have a lot of opportunities to do stuff, and I don't think he's going to miss them. So I have Thibodeau winning Defensive Rookie of the Year.
I do as well. I'd say Hutchinson would be a good pick, but I have Thibodeau as well. I just think the dude's going to be a stud. Why not?
I did comeback player of the year. I don't know if you did that one at all.
I did, yeah.
I put Christian McCaffrey for that.
You have McCaffrey, I'll take my boy Henry.
Okay, yeah. And then coach of the year, I went with Brandon Staley from the Chargers. Like I said, I am going to be a big time on the Chargers bandwagon this year. I'm really excited to see how they do. And obviously going all the way to the AFC Championship game like I have them going, I think Staley's going to be the dude for that.
Yeah, so, it's typically a coach of a team that's kind of like, done better than expectations or a lot better than last year. Well, I don't really have anybody that's like way better than they were last year. So I guess Baltimore would probably be the exception, and I have them at 13-4. So I'm giving it to John Harbaugh.
Okay, I like it. Well, folks, that was it. We got through everything. We'll have to see how many of these are wrong because most of them usually are wrong, then they are right. But
I will say 2 years ago, my Super Bowl prediction was dead on.
Yeah, you did get that.
You mocked it.
I did. You eat my foot. Yep, I mocked it. But anyways, Nick, is there anything else that you wanted to add? Any other thoughts you had as far as the football season coming up?
I'm just, I'm ready for football, man.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Yeah, as am I. But anyways, folks, if you want to follow us on social media, you can follow myself at Lucas.
Hold on. By the way,
Dorton. Yep.
It has been a long time since we've had a podcast. I don't remember the last time. Have we had a podcast since the Avalanche won the finals?
No, we have not. Mr. Nicholas.
You got an Avs flag in there you want to wave around or something?
I don't have the flag, but I have a couple jerseys hanging in the closet. I can say that as by far the greatest moment of my entire life.
All right, hold on. Pretend this is a microphone I got here. So, Mr. Dorton, as big Colorado Avalanche rep, how does it feel to witness them win their third Stanley Cup Finals?
Yep. Yeah, it feels amazing. Obviously, I was really, really little when they won the first two, so I don't really remember those ones at all. But winning the third one, big Avalanche fan. I think this was the team to do it. Gave me a lot of heart attacks along the way, but at the end of the day, the best teams won, and we were the best team. Tampa Bay, put up a good fight, but they've had a couple Mickey Mouse Stanley Cup runs the last couple years, going up against the Montreal Canadiens and the Dallas Stars, I do believe. So now once they finally going up against an actual good team and the Colorado Avalanche, we saw what happened and we won. So yeah, go Avs, go, find a way.
All right. Two things. First, was there any ever doubts? And two, what would you like to say to Nazem Kadri now that he is no longer an Av?
Of course, there's some doubts. I think I kind of always will be, I'm not confident about this. To me, it's more of if it does happen, what I think, okay, well, I can't get disappointed. Most of the time it doesn't happen. But at the end of the day, they were the best team. And then, as far as Nazem Kadri, I'm not wearing a hat, but tip of the cap to you. The man has gone through so much in his NHL career, getting hated on. Obviously, we know in the series against St. Louis, a lot of racist death threats against him, and to kind of show out and shove it in the, St. Louis fan base, and then do it again against the cocky Edmonton fan base, and then shutting down Tampa. The man broke his thumb, thought he was going to be out for the playoffs, and came back and had the game-winning goal that won it for us against Tampa. So, I have the utmost of respect for this man. I'm never going to forget what he did for this team. And Joe Sakic once again proved he is the best GM in hockey, absolutely fleecing the Toronto Maple Leafs, and pretty much just showing that Nazem Kadri is an absolute baller. So thank you, sir, for that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. But after that, yes, follow social media, Lucas_Dorton. You can follow Nick on Twitter @Doetkott. If you want to follow the official Twitter page, it's @DND_podcast. So be sure to do that. If you would like to be on a podcast, or you know anyone that would like to in the future, definitely reach out to either Nick or I for that. We would love to have more people on, have more people talk sports. But anyways, folks, thank you very much for listening to episode 67. Hopefully we'll be more consistent. I think we will. But as for Nick Doetkott and myself, until next time, we are out.